November 1944. Eastern Europe was drowning in winter. Snow fell so thick it erased roads, faces, even entire towns. And somewhere near the Carpathian Mountains, an American aligned unit, known only as the 89th Recon Regiment, marched into a valley that didn't exist on any map. 300 men, a radio operator, 2 half-tracks, and orders sealed in a wax envelope. They were told the mission was simple: locate and secure abandoned German research outpost, codename Helios. The rest of the war was collapsing around them. But Helios was different. Intelligence reports whispered that Nazi scientists had been testing something, not a weapon, but a signal. Something that could bend radio frequencies beyond atmospheric range. Whatever that meant. So they went. Through the snow, through fog so dense it swallowed the headlights. At 2,200 hours, radio contact was still clear. At 2,217, it vanished. At dawn, a supply convoy followed their trail. Boot prints, then tire tracks, then nothing. No bodies, no vehicles, no sign of combat. Just a single trench dug into the frost, a shallow scar curling like a spiral. At its center, a melted field radio, its antenna fused into the snow. The last thing transmitted from that position were 3 words, cut off mid-broadcast: "We found," and that was it. 300 men, gone, overnight. Officially, the report never existed. No mention of the 89th Regiment in war archives. No families notified. Every soldier listed under reassigned. Unofficially, whispers spread through Allied bases. Men spoke of the White Valley, a place where compasses spun backward, where the air tasted like metal. One scout, a man named Corporal Lionel Briggs, claimed to have seen it. He said the valley glowed from beneath the snow, and that the men were marching into the light. 2 days later, Briggs was found dead in his tent. No wounds, no struggle, just a radio set humming quietly beside him, broadcasting a tone that pulsed every 7 seconds. Decades later, during NATO operations in the same region, a reconnaissance drone captured faint anomalies under the ice. Long metallic shapes, aligned in perfect formation, like soldiers, still standing. Thermal scans showed no heat, no movement. Yet, a faint frequency was detected, the same one from 1,944, 7 seconds apart. They say the war ended long ago, but sometimes, when the snow falls heavy enough, radio operators still hear their march, step by step, through a frequency that shouldn't exist. This is where the story begins. December 1944. 2 weeks after the 89th Recon Regiment disappeared, a recovery unit was formed in secret. No patches, no insignia. Only a name written on their orders. Echo Team. 8 men. 1 goal. Find them. They were led by Major Elias Hawk, a man who'd seen too many fronts and too many things that never made it into reports. He didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in facts. But when he stepped into that valley, his compass died. Every needle spun wild, as if pulled by something buried beneath the snow. They found the first trail marker half a mile in. A helmet frozen upright, its chin strap tugged tight by the ice. The number stenciled on the side read E14. E for 89th. Proof they'd been there. But around the helmet, the snow was melted in a perfect circle, like someone had poured acid into the ground. Sergeant Keller, the radio man, set up a portable set to test frequencies. Static filled the air, sharp and electric. Then, under it, a beat. 7 seconds apart. Hawk froze. "Cut power," he said. "Now." The signal stopped the moment the battery was unplugged. That night they made camp in the center of the valley. Snow fell soundlessly over their tents, but the ground beneath them warm, too warm. At 0300 hours, Private Lang screamed. When the others rushed out, his tent was empty. Only a trail of footprints leading 50 feet into nothing. Literally nothing. The prints ended mid-stride. The snow beyond was untouched. They dug where the prints ended, thinking he'd fallen through the ice. 2 feet down, they hit metal. Smooth, cold, curved. Too precise to be rock. A symbol was engraved on it, 3 interlocked circles. Hawk recognized it. It was the same insignia rumored to mark the German Helios Division, the one the 89th had been sent to find. At 0407, Keller's radio flickered on by itself. A voice came through broken, frozen in distortion. "Major, don't follow us." Every man stared at the radio. They recognized the voice. It belonged to Captain Rourke, leader of the 89th, the same man who'd vanished 2 weeks earlier. Hawk grabbed the mic. "Rourke, where are you?" "It's not a place," the voice whispered. "It's inside the signal." Then silence. They tried to trace the transmission, but the signal bounced from every direction at once, as if the air itself was reflecting it. The next morning, the sky was clear. The sun rose over the ridge and hit the metal plate they'd unearthed. The snow around it began to melt faster, and then they heard it, a deep rumble, like machinery buried under the earth. Turning, waking, Keller yelled to run, but Hawk stood frozen. He could feel it. The ground was breathing. The snow beneath their feet sank 2 inches, then stopped. That afternoon, they retreated to higher ground. Hawk filed a coded report. Evidence of subsurface structure. Possible enemy installation. Recommend containment. But headquarters never replied. Hours later, his transmitter burned out. The metal warped, as if from intense heat. When the sun set that night, a light rose from the valley, pale, blue, and silent, spreading like fog until it covered the entire horizon. Then it blinked. Once, every 7 seconds. Echo Team never sent another message. But weeks later, pilots flying over the region reported a pattern in the ice. 300 perfect shadows frozen mid-March, and beneath them, a pulse. 1956. The war had been over for more than a decade. But in the mountains of Eastern Europe, the snow still hid what the world wasn't ready to see. A new team operating under NATO intelligence was dispatched to survey anomalous geological activity. Officially, it was a climate study. Unofficially, it was a recovery mission. Their leader, Dr. Miriam Keats, a physicist and former OSS cryptographer, was handed a sealed envelope before departure. No signature, no señal, just one line typed in black. Follow the pulse. Keats's team arrived at the coordinates once known as the White Valley. But the landscape had changed. No trenches, no camps, only a single frozen ridge, smooth as glass, and beneath it, readings that defied every instrument they had. Magnetometers spun without reason. Seismic meters flickered as if the ground below were hollow. And deep under the ice, they detected a rhythmic vibration, exactly 7 seconds apart. Dr. Keats didn't believe in superstition. She believed in mathematics. And what she saw on her oscilloscope wasn't random. It was structured, deliberate, a message. On the 3rd day, they began drilling into the ice. 4 meters down, the drill bit struck metal. Is smooth, curved, still warm to the touch. It wasn't wreckage. It was a dome, perfectly symmetrical. Inside it, they detected a faint electromagnetic field, still active. When the team increased power to the sensors, the field responded, as if it had been waiting. A tone surged through their headsets. Then, was hundreds of them. Hold the line advancing east. Request air support. Repeat. Major, we can see the lights. Then silence. Dr. Keats froze. Every voice was American. Every voice belonged to the 89th Recon Regiment, the same soldiers declared missing 11 years before. The team recorded what they could, but when they reviewed the tapes that night, there was nothing, only static. And yet, each of them could still hear the voices in their minds. The next morning, the dome was gone. Where the ice had been cut open, a crater now yawned into darkness, and from it came a mist, pale blue, glowing faintly in the cold. One man, Lieutenant Harris, swore he saw figures in the fog, marching. Information. He ran toward them. The others screamed for him to stop, but by the time they reached the edge, he was gone. Only his footprints remained, ending mid-step. Just like the 89th, Dr. Keats ordered the mission terminated. The valley was sealed off, marked as restricted territory. Official documents called it a geothermal anomaly. But off the record, she sent one final message to her superiors in London. A single line. It's still alive under the ice. Then her research vanished. every file, every tape, every note she ever wrote. And 3 months later, Dr. Miriam Keats herself disappeared while en route to a debriefing in Brussels. Her car was found beside an empty road, the engine still running, radio humming softly. Since then, no one has set foot in the valley again. But satellite imagery taken in 1982 showed something beneath the snow. A fin pattern, stretching for half a mile. 300 silhouettes. Standing at its Incheon, facing east, the war ended in 1945. But not for them. Somewhere, they're still marching, waiting for orders that never came, because sometimes the dead don't stop fighting. They just change frequency. 1962. The world balanced on the edge of annihilation. Missiles in Cuba, secrets in Berlin, and deep in the Carpathian Range, one of NATO's listening posts went silent. Station Epsilon, crew of 12, all gone. Nah distress call, no explosion, just one transmission, a short burst that repeated for 2 hours straight, 7 seconds apart. The recording reached Allied command 3 days later. To most, it was meaningless noise. But one analyst, Dr. Howard Lenz, recognized the pattern instantly. He'd worked under Dr. Miriam Keats, the same physicist who vanished in 1956. Her notes, what little survived, had warned, do not re-amplify the signal. It adapts. But orders were orders. The Cold War demanded answers. So Lenz was sent back to the valley. They built a new array directly over the ice. A spider web of antennas, a forest of metal poles humming in the snow. For weeks, nothing, just the wind and the steady heartbeat of the earth itself. Then, on the 23rd night, the static changed. It wasn't background noise anymore. It was voice-shaped, fragments of speech, buried beneath the hum. Lenz boosted the gain. The words were faint, as if spoken through water. Mayor, hold position, hold. He froze. That voice. It was from the archive of 1944. We found the rest cut off, just as it had 17 years earlier. The next morning, engineers found strange burns around the antenna bases. Perfect concentric rings carved into the ice. Their equipment registered a pulse every 7 seconds, in perfect sync with the Earth's magnetic field. By nightfall, one of the operators, Corporal Duval, reported hearing marching through his headset. Not sound, not radio, a rhythm inside his skull. He begged to be evacuated. 2 hours later, he was gone, his bunk empty, boots neatly placed beside the bed. Dr. Lenz ordered all systems shut down. But when they cut power, the signal kept broadcasting. No electricity, no generator, just the hum. Then the lights flickered. Every needle on the control board spiked red. And for exactly 30 seconds, every loudspeaker in the facility played a single sound. When it ended, half the equipment was fused, the rest dead. On the final line of the data logs, Lenz wrote 4 words before losing contact. It's trying to transmit. A search team reached the station a week later. There were no survivors, but on the walls, etched by hand into the metal panels, the same symbol seen by Hawk in 1944. 3 interlocked circles. And below it, a message carved deep into steel. Not gone, listening. The site was sealed. Official reports blamed electrical failure. Unofficially, the valley was classified Zone 7. But in the months that followed, ham radio operators from across Europe began reporting strange interference. A slow repeating beat that corrupted entire frequencies, 7 seconds apart. And then, the whispers started again. We never left. Dr. Lenz's notes ended with one final entry. They are still marching, but not in the snow. 1964. 2 years after Station Epsilon went dark, the NATO command quietly drew a thick red circle on their maps. They called it Zone 7, a place where compasses failed and transmissions refused to die. Only a handful of analysts even knew it existed. They were told one rule: do not respond to any unverified signal from Zone 7. But rules in the Cold War were fragile things. In London, a British intercept operator named Evelyn Shaw was monitoring Soviet chatter when a new frequency broke through. It wasn't Russian. It wasn't code. It was music. an American marching tune, distorted, echoing like it was underwater. Then a voice, Company B, advance. The tape machine jammed. Smoke curled from the motor. And when she pulled the reel free, the film inside was warped, as if burned from the inside out. Reports came from Norway, Turkey, Alaska. Operators claimed the same thing, a slow, repeating pulse every 7 seconds, always on unassigned bands, always stronger at night. The pattern spread in a perfect circle, originating from the Carpathians, exactly where the 89th Recon had vanished 20 years earlier. By spring, communications between Allied outposts began to fail. Morse lines stuttered, data punched through teletype paper in reverse, and one by one, operators started to dream in code. They'd wake whispering coordinates they'd never seen. Zone 7 wasn't just broadcasting anymore. It was listening. An emergency council met in Brussels. Files from Hawk, Keats, and Lenz were placed on the table, each stamped classified, level black. All told the same story. Each ended the same way. A pulse. 7 seconds. Silence. Then someone, no one ever admitted who, suggested a solution. Jam the signal. All frequencies. They launched Operation Aegis. For 48 hours, every military transmitter in Europe blasted white noise toward the Carpathians. And for the first time in 20 years, the hum stopped. It lasted 3 minutes. Then the pulse returned. Stronger. Slower. And underneath it, a whisper. Not on the radio. Inside the speakers themselves. You heard us. Power grids across 5 countries flickered. In West Germany, entire radar systems locked onto a target hovering 50 meters above the valley, invisible to the eye. And just as suddenly, the blips vanished. The technicians, all 12, collapsed at their posts. Not dead, but still. Every one of them humming in perfect rhythm, 7 seconds apart. Zone 7 was sealed again. Fences went up, maps were redrawn, but no one could fence in a frequency. Shortwave hobbyists still picked it up. They called it the Marcher. Some said if you listened too long, you'd start to hear boots in the snow behind you. And sometimes, you'd hear your own voice among them. Governments called it an anomaly. Scientists called it a resonance. But old soldiers, they knew better. They said the 89th was still out there, not alive, not dead, just waiting for the next order to come through. And every time that signal rises from Zone 7, someone, somewhere, answers. 80 years after the 89th Recon Regiment vanished, the world has changed, but some signals never stop. In early 2025, a private satellite company called Lumen Dynamics was testing new AI-driven communication software. In Eastern Europe, their systems were built to filter cosmic background noise, the leftover static of the universe itself. But one night, they found something that shouldn't have been there. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the satellite detected a rhythmic pulse, 7 seconds apart, faint, buried beneath the cosmic hiss. At first, they assumed it was interference, until the software translated the pattern into data, binary. Then words, Company B advance, low drone builds, keyboards clatter, distant hum of machines, narrator, tighter tone. The signal was traced back to the Carpathian region, to a valley once redacted from every military record. Zone 7, Lumen's lead analyst, Dr. Ilara Moore, requested remote access to archived NATO frequencies. What she found made no sense. The same pulse had been detected in 1964, 1987, 2003, always in November, always increasing in strength. Soft heartbeat, EQs every 7 seconds. Dr. Moore fed the data into an AI spectrograph. The AI responded instantly, detected repeating human vocal pattern, possible command structure. When she slowed it down by 400%, the voice was clear. This is Captain Warren, 89th Recon. We are still awaiting orders. Silence. Then low, hollow wind. Narrator, slowly as if stunned. 80 years. 300 voices. Transmitting from under the snow, Lumen Dynamics immediately contacted NATO Command. Within days, a small joint research team landed near the coordinates. The same valley, untouched since the 1,940 seconds. They brought drones, ground scanners, and seismic tools. But the moment they powered their equipment, everything shut down. Every battery drained. Every camera froze. And through the comms, the hum began again. Deep rumbling tone, pulsing every 7 seconds. This time, it wasn't just a sound. It carried structure. Encoded patterns that formed images. A spiral trench, a formation of soldiers, and a light beneath the ground. Short pause. Snow crunches under boots. Narrator, soft. The team dug through ice and rock until they found it. A layer of blackened metal, fused with frozen uniforms. The tanks, still readable. Names from the 89th. And beneath it all, a cylindrical device, half buried, humming faintly, stamped with 2 words. Project Helios. Faint electric crackle. Lights flicker. Narrator, lower tone. Dr. Moore realized what it was. Not a weapon. Not a bomb. A transmitter, designed to amplify radio waves using atmospheric resonance to send commands beyond normal range. But in the chaos of war, something went wrong. The device turned inward. It looped, capturing the final moments of the 89th. Their last words, their fear, their obedience, and broadcasting them forever. Tense silence. Then a deep, resonant pulse. Narrator whisper. The valley wasn't haunted. It was replaying. A signal caught in its own echo. The ghosts of transmission. When the team attempted to shut the device down, the hum rose to a scream. Every radio within 100 miles burst into life. And through it all, one final voice broke through. Order received. Then, silence. Wind fades. Snowfall steadies. A heartbeat, distant. Narrator, soft, almost reverent. A week later, satellites confirmed the signal was gone. No pulse, no interference, just static. But at exactly 2:17 a.m., the time the pulse used to rise, a new one appeared. Different frequency, différente location, somewhere in the Pacific. The 89th Recon Regiment is gone. But their last order remains, waiting for someone else to answer.